All right, we stay with this particular story now and speak to African Affairs Analyst Nixon Katembo is joining us this evening. Nixon, always a pleasure. Let's just start with the sentence, right? Because some are saying that it's one thing to sentence, but where is he?
Mr. Kabila is said to be in Eastern Congo, in Goma. But as far as I know, he has been in and out of the DRC between Nairobi, Harare, and here in South Africa.
So is this more about ensuring that he actually does face the music, or is the sentence about the fact that they're trying to make sure that he doesn't unite the opposition in that country?
I think this is a power struggle, and I think it is showing the lacune that exists within the diplomatic processes within the DRC. And for anyone who understands diplomacy, you would then make sure that a person like Joseph Kabila does not get sentenced in this manner, but rather be brought to the fore in trying to find a solution to the peaceful resolution of the conflict in the DRC, as well as understanding, bringing together the Congolese under one umbrella of a dialogue, in as much as the way the Sun City happened in the early 2000s, to make sure that Congo does not stay in the current political turmoil and the situation where it is. But what we see rather is President Tshisekedi trying to consolidate his power, trying to make sure that all opposition leaders are in exile or sentenced, and there is no room for maneuvering to have a credible opposition against him, and I think that is a problem.
So it sounds like we shouldn't view this outside of the lens of his current tensions with President Felix Tshisekedi.
Certainly, because you have to look at that President Kabila himself, as a former president, brought this upon himself, because he signed a deal with President Tshisekedi. We tend to forget that these are two people that signed a deal prior to President Tshisekedi getting power. Now, after that, President Tshisekedi have outmaneuvered him in a way that he has done, and now have the rebel. But I think when the M23 as a rebel group is still seeking dialogue, I think Kinshasa should take that route of accepting dialogue. In as much there has been processes in the Doha, in Washington, these are processes that just complementary to the broader issue and looking at the whole problem of the DRC in a more holistic way, making sure that there is a refoundation of the state. The state institutions are rebuilt afresh. The political process encompasses everyone. There is a compromise on both political players, including Tshisekedi, including Kabila. That is what the work of diplomacy have to happen now. There have to be a concerted effort, the diplomatic effort to make sure that there is a compromise between both parties, because in any case, whether Tshisekedi stays in power or the M23 take over power through the force of arm, or Kabila himself joined the M23 and in pushing Tshisekedi out, the real issue remains around the political process within the DRC and building the state institutions.
So Nixon, it sounds like, right, you know, the military court may have ruled this way, but ultimately there are still many hurdles to jump through when it comes to, you know, getting the situation in the DRC to actually, you know, quieten down for us to even see that there is no violence there.
If you ask me, this is an instrumentalized court case in the military court, just for Tshisekedi to consolidate his power and making sure that he annihilate the opposition against him. You would recall that in December last year, he talked of changing the constitution until the M23 took over Goma and the town of Bukavu. Who knows that whether the M23 will advance to Lubumbashi or many other towns? And the question is, what will Tshisekedi do, even he himself, when he gets out of power. And I think this is a dangerous precedent that is being set, where leaders are just sentenced to death without, and there have been such an example. I remember Frederick Chiluba sentencing the late Kenneth Kaunda, until President Nyerere, the late President Nyerere of Tanzania, went to to Lusaka and negotiated. When he got into prison, many people do not know that Nyerere, when he sat in the prison with Kaunda, he told Chiluba that I'm not going to get out of this prison until Kaunda is out. Yeah. And we cannot have this precedence of former president being jailed at the expenses of building a state cohesion and institution of the state that look beyond political elite, but rather the well-being of the people and the institutions that remain intact, that serve the people beyond the political ambition of any political player within the country.
Yeah, Nixon, it seems we're still a far way off, but thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. That is African Affairs Analyst Nixon Katembo, and that's how we wrap up the show.